But let's start the hour in Tennessee, where the convicted killer, 20-year-old nursing student Holly Bobo, has a real shot, which most people don't, in his position of possibly getting a new trial.
Yeah, a jury found Zachary Adams guilty of killing Bobo back in 2017. She died in 2011. But a co-defendant who testified against him has now recanted, and Adams wants a new trial over that and more.
So, Bobo was missing for 3 years after she disappeared. They finally found in rural Tennessee. He had two brothers and a third defendant, this Autry guy. And the third guy, he testified at trial in detail. And now he's come out and said, it was all a lie. I used the discovery in the case to fabricate my testimony, basically for fun, and claims that he's the reason that this man, Zachary Adams, went down. Will he get a new trial? We'll find out. Before we get back to the hearing, let's get you caught up on the case.
First-degree felony murder of Holly Bobo during the perpetration of or attempt to perpetrate kidnapping of Holly Bobo. You checked guilty of first-degree felony murder of Holly Bobo. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
20-year-old Holly Bobo disappeared from her home in 2011. 6 years later, Zachary Adams was convicted for the kidnapping, rape, and killing of Bobo and was sentenced to life in prison, thanks mostly to the testimony of this man.
Jason Autry, Jasonauty.
Jason Autry testified at trial, recounting the day Bobo was kidnapped, claiming Zachary Adams and his brother wrapped Bobo in a blanket, placed her in the back of a pickup truck, drove her to a river, and shot her.
And I grabbed the upper torso of Miss Bobo. Jack come around, let the tailgate down. I brought the upper torso to the end of the tailgate.
But now Autry claims he made it all up. He sat down with Nick Barris at Scripps News Group Nashville before the trial to say this.
Make no mistake, Jason Autry is a liar. He told two stories, and the question now is which one to believe. The answer will decide if a convicted killer goes free.
Right hand before God, and the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, died in front of that girl. Those four bills action.
And all of a sudden, Jason Autry is saying he made everything up, that he was able to make up all those details because his attorney provided him discovery. And with that discovery, he was able to sound very convincing at trial.
Zachary Adams is now appealing his conviction due to Autry recanting his testimony in hopes he will be granted a new trial. Let's go into this 4-day hearing that Zachary Adams has in front of a judge. We're picking it up with testimony from a retired FBI criminal investigator for West Tennessee. His name is Joe Walker, and he was part of the original team that investigated Holly Bobo's case back in 2013.
The decision was made by General McAdams and Beth Boswell.
As far as I know, yes, sir.
Regarding not indicting Terry Britt.
Yes, sir.
TBI does not control the state's decision, the prosecution's.
No, sir.
At the meeting or internally, had it been discussed that Terry Britt should have been in prison anyhow for Tequila Jones's kidnapping or abduction?
I remember Tequila Jones, or whatever her name was. I remember that case, and I know that it was dropped. But I wasn't part of any of that talk.
Not blaming you for the case being dropped. Do you know why it was dropped, though?
It was my understanding she didn't show up in court. Now, I don't know if that's it or not, but I think that's what it was.
You know why she didn't show up in court?
No, sir.
Janet Britt was a part of the fact pattern of the abduction of Tequila Jones.
Correct.
At some point internally, did TBI discuss problems with Clint Bobo as a witness in convicting Terry Britt?
No, convicting Terry Britt that I remember, sir. No, sir. Terry Britt was never, we couldn't get the probable cause according to the Attorney General, who would make that decision. And I don't remember Clint being brought up in that situation. It was just a matter of not having it on Terry to indict him. In a case of this magnitude, you wouldn't want to indict something you couldn't prosecute.
In a case of this magnitude, you didn't want to indict somebody you couldn't win.
Correct.
Because once you indict, the prosecution's begun.
Correct.
So, who said in a case of this magnitude you didn't want to indict if you can't win?
One of the prosecutors. I don't remember exactly which one, sir. I
And
think
was this before their election? The election was in 2014, right?
right.
The PowerPoint meeting was before the election.
Correct. I mean, you wouldn't ever want to prosecute a case you didn't think you couldn't win.
Even if it's the right person who did the crime?
Well, what would be the use of prosecuting if you couldn't win the case?
At some point, you became the lead case agent.
Yes, sir.
And at some point, you said that Dennis Benjamin was helping us in this case.
I didn't ever have any contact with Dennis Benjamin, sir.
Didn't ask you if you had contact. I asked you, did Dennis Benjamin help TBI in this case?
Yes, sir.
All right. What all work did Dennis Benjamin do for TBI?
As far as I know, he was investigating more with the family and working with them. And then after Dylan gave his statement in the jail when he was released, Dennis Benjamin carried him home.
Okay. Was that coordinated with the TBI that Dennis Benjamin would be the person Dylan goes to live with?
I believe that was with Jack Van Hoosier. It wasn't with me.
So yes. At the time, Zach Adams was in jail, right?
Yes, sir.
So there was no safety concern for Dylan that he had nowhere else to live if Zach was in jail.
We thought there was a safety concern, yes, sir.
Well, what was the safety concern?
Just because Zach was in jail didn't mean Zach didn't have friends on the outside and other family members.
You've listened to the Bryan County phone calls between his mother and Dylan.
I didn't listen to them, I don't believe, no,
Okay.
sir.
Was there?
But they were listened to, yes, sir.
And I mean, what was the concern that Dylan couldn't go live with his mom?
His mother was wanting Dylan to give up all his rights to his granddaddy's property so they could sell the property and hire Zach an attorney. That was one of the things.
And so y'all were really concerned about the property rights of Dylan Adams, and that's why you had to send him to live with an informant?
No, sir. That wasn't the only concern.
Well,
The main concern was Dylan's well-being or him not being coerced to change his story.
Okay. You just said the concern was Dylan Adams not being coerced and changing his story.
Correct.
That's the main reason he went to live with Dennis Benjamin.
And his personal safety.
No.
Yes, sir.
The thing about main reason is there's only one.
Your Honor, he can answer the question.
That was argumentative.
I'll allow that type of question. That particular one was argumentative.
Do you agree when you say something is the main issue, that means it's the number one issue?
Yes, sir.
You said under oath the main issue was Dylan not being coerced and changing his story.
The main issue, sir, was his safety.
No, but you just testified earlier, did you not, that the main issue was Dylan not changing his story and being coerced?
That may have been what came out of my mouth. Yes, sir.
All right, did you remember your oath of obligation in testimony?
Yes, sir.
Your first answer was the truthful answer, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
The main issue was getting evidence in the Holly Bobo case and it not changing. correct?
Your Honor, the witness said Dylan Adams' well-being and not being coerced to change. I think counsel is
Your Honor,
taking
that's a
the
speaking-
statement out of context for dramatic effect.
Your Honor, that's a
This
speaking
one-
objection.
Is this an objection?
I'm
Okay.
objecting, yes, Your Honor.
All right. I'm going to allow him to explore this line of questioning. So you may proceed, Mr.
May the court reporter read back the question, please?
Which one do you want?
The last one before the objection.
Before this objection?
Yes, ma'am.
The main issue was getting evidence in the Holly Bobo case and it not changing, correct?
That's my question to you, sir.
Wait, what was it one more time, man? I'm sorry.
The main issue was getting evidence in the Holly Bobo case and it not changing, correct?
That would not be the main issue. The main issue would be his safety. Also, we wanted to maintain the integrity of the case.
What credible proof do you have that Dylan was unsafe?
That was only a speculation, sir.
Are you saying under oath you were concerned about his safety and well-being
Yes, sir, I am.
with zero credible proof and only speculation, correct?
Speculation, yes, sir.
All right, Dylan, of course, is the brother of Zach Adams, who ended up being a problem for Zach. They have already brought it up in these hearings, some phone calls that he made. He cut a deal with prosecutors and implicated his brother throughout that process. And now we're seeing that as part of the, it's not all about Autry and him recanting. It's also Dylan, the brother.
There's multiple layers of what they're bringing, and we see that all the time with defense cases. They are bringing everything they can in front of this judge, but no doubt the headline has been that recanting of Jason Autry, and that might be the most compelling for this judge. We'll see. Let's go to our break. We'll get you back in for more of this case out of Tennessee with more compelling moments from this 4-day hearing here on Court TV.
Is Karen Reed a killer girlfriend?
She's guilty.
Or the scapegoat in an elaborate cover-up?
Karen Reed was framed.
We know who did it.
The Karen Reed murder retrial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, diving deeper into key evidence in the case against Karen Reed. We'll break down everything you may have missed from this larger-than-life trial.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan. Tonight at 8/7 Central. Only on Court TV.
All right, let's head back to this case centered around the murder of Holly Bobo. She was a nursing student. She went missing in 2011. Her body was found 3 years later, and 3 men ended up getting charged. There were 6 original suspects in this case. It was whittled down to 3. And only 1 actually went to trial, Zachary Adams. He's currently serving a life sentence. His defense says his conviction was based on the testimony of co-defendant Jason Autry, who has now admitted that he lied during trial.
Yeah, Autry said that during an interview with a news reporter. So now Zachary Adams getting this post-conviction hearing. And we have a former investigator on the stand with the TBI, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, talking about possible missteps taken in the search for Bobo's killers.
I understand this is painful. The cell records have them in Parsons at this time. You know Shane was using this vehicle, and you know the 3 of them were together.
Your Honor, he's just testified. He's not attesting and vouching for Mr. Bates' theory.
What's your objection?
My objection is this is not a question. This is testimony and a statement from Mr. Bates.
It's a long question, but I'll get there.
All right, I'm going to allow the question.
I'll start over. You became aware under your investigation that Shane and Zach's cell phones were together in Parsons mid-morning, correct?
I don't remember exactly when we had all this knowledge, sir. I can't tell you. I don't remember. I can tell you that.
You swore to Judge McGinley the three of them were together that day.
According to testimony I had received, yes, sir.
You knew Shane withdrew money from the bank.
Yes, sir.
You knew Shane was using the Silverado.
Well, I knew Shane had withdrawn money from the bank, but I don't think there's a time on there of when that was taken out, is there?
That's why your work was so important, Agent Walker. Your job, do you agree, was to look and see if the physical evidence connected to all this story. You agree that was your job?
Yes, sir.
You failed, didn't you?
Again, I don't know that they are in that vehicle or if that vehicle is theirs, but
you never even looked.
I did not look, no, sir.
Why did you say the transaction was not covered by our videos then?
The ones I was looking at, it wasn't, sir.
What videos were you looking at then?
I don't remember, sir, exactly what it was. That has been many years ago. I don't remember. I am sure if I put it on paper, I was not lying. I would not lie on any affidavit for any reason, this case or any other case.
Then why not just say it? It appears Zach was in the truck, doesn't it?
No, sir. Like you said earlier, not all the information is correct all the time.
Of what people say. But here, everything is consistent with Shane and Zach at the ATM machine, correct?
I don't know that Zach is there, no, sir.
Everywhere y'all looked for physical evidence, y'all found none.
Correct.
November 2016, leading up to something in this case, do you remember giving Jason Autry's attorney more discovery in this case? Just him.
Which attorney would you be talking about, sir? I don't remember.
Michael Scholl.
No, sir. I don't remember. Getting trouble anything more than anybody else had. No, sir.
All right. Do you remember Jason Autry's testimony at trial?
Pretty much so, yes, sir.
Do you agree with me that he just recreated his day based on the cell phone records? Whether Holly was there or not, the jury found that she was.
His testimony was corroborated by the cell phone records, correct?
Yes, sir. Chief, not done yet.
You want these now, sir?
Go.
Three of those.
Yes. Well, now,
Let's mark IR 3091, Exhibit 53.
can you read IR 3091?
Yes, sir. Attached is a copy of Tennessee Bureau of Investigation property release showing the transfer of 2 computer disks, in this case, from S.A. Joe Walker to attorney Mike Scholl, attorney for Jason Wayne Autry on November 16, 2016. The defense had already received this information in their discovery given to them by ADA Jennifer Nichols, but because of the volume of information and the format it was given into them, they had been unable to find it. This information was given at the direction of ADA Nichols copy of the release form will be scanned, incorporated in the case file as a related item.
Now can you read the receipt release form on the second page?
Yes, sir. It's a disk of phone records containing 731-733-0191 with ZA, which would be Zach Adams, 731-733-2073 JA, Jason Autry, and 731-733-6373 SA, which I assume is Shane Austin. And number 2 would be a disk containing the phone records of Holly Bobo, 731-549-7352.
All right, I move to mark this into the next number.
I made it Exhibit 53.
Quite convenient, wasn't it?
Do what, sir?
Quite convenient, wasn't it?
I'd forgotten it. I didn't remember it. But obviously, if there's paperwork there, I did as I was told to do.
By General Nichols.
Yes, sir.
If there is evidence that cannot be manipulated, that Zach Adams was not a part of this crime, you want him out of jail, don't you?
If Zach Adams was in jail unnecessarily, sir, I couldn't sleep at night. I can promise you that.
Is today the first time you learned that you did not look at the right videos? Do you feel terrible?
Again, sir, I don't know. I don't feel terrible until I know for sure.
You're worried, aren't you?
I would hate to think that it would be, but I'm not certain at this point. No, sir.
Wow, that's a lot to hear from someone who no doubt took the stand and testified one way during the trial.
Yeah, but that second level, like, you feel bad now, don't you, that this man's been in prison for the wrong and is innocent. And he's having trouble with that answer.
Being as firm with it as you would hope. Let's bring in our guest who is standing by, joining us this hour, National Trial Attorney Michael Jaffer. What a unique situation for those of us here at Court TV. We don't typically see this in the cases that we cover, where it comes back to a new trial, it's in front of a judge, and it's as compelling as this one is, with a witness who has recanted. There's new evidence, according to the defense. Your thoughts, particularly on this agent testifying in the way that he did there at the end?
It was riveting. It was very riveting. I almost lost myself watching that because I was so zoned in. It was riveting. The defense attorney, I didn't see his face in there. Amazing job. I hope I bump into this defense attorney. The way he structured the question, and that was a courtroom dramatic moment. He's going to get a new trial. He's going to get a new trial, if for no other reason, because of that exchange right there. Obviously, the recantation and all the other stuff is going to get him a new trial, but that was riveting. I was mesmerized by it. I'm kind of like a junkie for watching these trials for these reasons. That was a very dramatic moment. The question, the answer, I don't even think that lawyer knew the answer to the question, but he almost didn't care because he knew that he was standing on the hill of right. At the end of the day, Julia, look, there's our system of justice and there's our sense of justice. The two are not the same. Sense of justice comes in here, right? The system of justice could gear up and say, you know what, we're not going to give him a new trial. Some of this evidence could have been uncovered with reasonable diligence, except for the recantation. And the recantation, we don't know if it's like the system of justice could find a way to say there's no new trial, but our sense of justice won't. There's no way this young man's not going to get a new trial.
Yeah, I like that. That's two different things. And usually, hopefully, more often than not, the sense of justice does creep into the system appropriately. Yeah. In this case, the gatekeeper is the judge. There's no jury. Mm-hmm. But I think if this were a jury scenario, that he would be slam dunk new trial. Because when you have a seasoned member of the TBI, as they call it in Tennessee, this guy he's got cop written all over him. You know, career, now retired, looks like, you know, law enforcement dude. And his answer was, yeah, I'm a little concerned, basically.
That he's not sure.
Yeah, he's not sure. And when he's not sure, guess what? Nobody's sure, so we'll see.